Police in Cape Town have arrested 6 suspects in connection with 20 business robberies in and around the city. For more on the operations leading to these arrests, we're joined now by JP Smith, who is Cape Town's head of disaster risk management. JP, thank you for talking to me. I imagine that I'm getting your title quite wrong, but you will correct me if I'm wrong. Talk to us about this operation and how you came to arrest the 6 suspects and how they link up to the spate of robberies that you have seen.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. I'm the mayoral committee member for safety and security. And what happened is that on Tuesday at 5:30, we have in Cape Town uniquely a police reserve service within the city. I think we are still the only city in South Africa to have such a thing. So in addition to SAPS reservists, we have law enforcement reservists. And on Tuesday, a group of them, a vehicle of them was patrolling in the areas where they are reservists. And they saw, they were alerted to a bakkie that was circling 2 construction sites. This bakkie has been suspected to be involved in other robberies. We share with the communities and with the neighborhood watches a license plate recognition camera network across the city. And so this bakkie had been identified. They went to the construction site, saw the bakkie, checked the license plate. It was a suspected clone plate, approached the vehicle, and when they approached it, the bakkie tried to flee. They chased it up until it was in a side street in a dead end, got the guys out. They had removed the license disc from the vehicle so that you couldn't see if the license plate matched the vehicle. They checked the VIN number on the engine, confirmed that it was a false plate for a different bakkie. Then contacted SAPS. The investigating officer confirmed that he was looking for these people. They searched the vehicle, found a whole lot of housebreaking and robbery implements. The guys were transported to, the suspects were transported to SAPS, and the link to 15 other cases positively. So good news, that vehicle is now in possession of SAPS as well, linked to numerous other cases. And this is what you can achieve with reservists if you properly empower them.
Yeah. So tell me about the kind of havoc that this particular spate of crime and possibly, allegedly these suspects were involved with. What was the damage that it was doing to businesses in and around Cape Town?
So, I mean, for the last 4 months, they've been looking for this crew. You know that from time to time, these very prominent crowbar gang style operations come into being. This particular crew had been focusing on business robberies, and were being looked for in a variety of places. The vehicle that they used had stolen the license plate of another bakkie, another Isuzu bakkie of the same description, one of these white KV bakkies. And therefore, it doesn't immediately show up as a mismatch using the license plate recognition cameras. It was only until you were able to stop it and check the VIN number that you could see it didn't match. And so those license plates get placed when these vehicles become vehicles of interest because they're seen on CCTV footage. Those vehicle license plates are placed on a watch list where all the CCTV cameras of the city that are ANPR automated number plate recognition enabled, as well as all the private network, because we have a partnership with a thing called the License Plate Recognition User Group, which now has about 800 or 900 cameras on poles, all ANPR enabled across the city. This is neighborhood watches, community improvement districts, etc. And collectively, we keep an eye with SAPS out for these vehicles. If we see any of them somewhere, they're a vehicle of interest, it triggers the system, and our staff can intervene. And in this case, it's the reservists, of which I'm very proud because they have extraordinary arrest records. They're doing really good work. And very often they work in their own neighborhoods because they've got one foot firmly planted in the neighborhood watches there and the other foot in the enforcement circles.
Lastly, JP, let me throw a curveball at you, and I must state up front that we did not, indicate to you beforehand that I would be asking you this, but you're a senior politician, you will know how to handle it. I believe you've received the report in as far as that incident where the man who was being evicted was in that clash with police, with law enforcement officials, the men who ended up being captured on video there naked, and it caused, serious uproar around the country, really. What does the report say to you?
All right, you're right. I wouldn't be much of a politician if I couldn't field your question. And indeed, the report suggests that we proceed, due to the public interest and the nature of the incident, that we proceed with formal disciplinary action against the 4 staff members, which I think we had accepted right from the beginning would have to happen. You couldn't not go through a formal process with them. But it also does confirm the video footage that shows that Mr. Xolani exposed himself before that incident. There's other footage where he comes out of the structure in a complete state of undress, naked, waving an ID card, and that video footage is confirmed as valid and on the same day, which unfortunately invalidates his version of the facts.
You mean to say, sorry JP, you mean to say that the earlier video footage shows him completely dressed? I think you said in a state of undress. I think you're talking about the prior footage.
Undressed. It shows him coming out of the structure with no law enforcement anywhere around him, completely naked, waving an ID card. So before that incident that everybody saw on social media, minutes before that, he actually emerges from the structure completely naked, waving his ID card. It's not footage I can send you that you can show unless you're going to censor it. But this is a pattern of behavior, unfortunately, in Welbeloord at noon this week. We had 3 ladies who did the same, undressed themselves completely, but we've now learned. So we have staff on standby with blankets, and female staff then went in, covered these ladies with blankets. And I think in some cases they were even charged with public indecency. So it is unfortunately a pattern of behavior, and the incident with Mr. Xolani, I think for the first time just highlighted this for the public, but it is something that the police officers see regularly.
All right, JP Smith, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. He is the member of the mayoral committee who is responsible for safety and security in Cape Town. And there you have it. We were talking about the spate of robberies and the breakthrough that they've made in as far as that is concerned in Cape Town. But then, of course, he has just confirmed that the city has now received that report from that independent investigation into that incident that was widely discussed and sort of reported on around the who was seen being manhandled by law enforcement officials. JP Smith telling us that the report confirms that he, quote-unquote, exposed himself, but also the report says there should be formal disciplinary processes against staff members who were involved there.